Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we start one of the most important topics in the modern Indian history, that is the revolt of 1857, also known as the First War of Independence. Before we understand how such a big rebellion started, we must first see what policies of the British created anger among the Indian people. In earlier chapters, we already saw how East India Company made policies mainly to increase their power and money. And these policies affected everyone, such as kings, queens, peasants, landlords, tribals, and soldiers. Anyone whose interests were hurt naturally began resisting. Since the mid 18th century, the Nawabs and Rajas of India gradually lost of their power. Their respect, honor, and authority started disappearing. The British placed residents in royal courts, meaning British officers controlled every decision. Indian rurals could no longer act independently. Their armies were disbanded and revenues were taken over, and slowly their territories too were annexed. Many rurals tried to negotiate. For example, Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi, she pleaded that her adopted son should be recognized as the legal heir after her husband's death. Similarly, Nana Sahib, adopted son of Peshwa Bajirao too, asked for his father's pension. But the company rejected their request arrogantly, and because they believed they were military superior. One of the last territories annexed was Awadh. In 1856, Governor General Dalhousie claimed that Awadh was being misgoverned and therefore must be taken over. But the real purpose was political and economic control, not public welfare. The British even planned to completely end the Mughal dynasty. First, they removed the Mughal emperor's name from the coins. Then, in 1849, Dalhousie announced that after Bahadur Shah Zafar's death, his family would be removed from the Red Fort. Finally, in 1856, Governor General Canning announced that Bahadur Shah Zafar would be the last Mughal emperor. After him, his descendants would only be called princes, not kings. Just imagine, a dynasty that ruled India for centuries was to be erased. That was a huge emotional shock to Indians. Now, in villages, peasants and zamindars were angry due to high taxes and harsh revenue policies. Many could not pay back loans to moneylenders and lost their lands, the land that they had cultivated for generations. The sepoys, the Indian soldiers of the company army, were also unhappy. Their salaries were low and working conditions were bad. Many rurals hurt their religious beliefs. For example, in those days, people believed that crossing the sea would make them lose their caste and religion. But in 1824, soldiers were ordered to travel to Burma by sea. They refused and were punished severely. In 1856, a new law forced every new recruit to agree to serve overseas. Many sepoys were also from peasant families, so suffering in villages increased their anger as well. Now, the British believed that Indian society needed reform, so they passed new laws such as sati was abolished and widow remarriage was encouraged and English education was promoted and Christian missionaries were allowed freely. In 1850, a new law allowed Indians who converted to Christianity to inherit property from their family. Many Indians felt that the British were attacking their religion, customs, and traditional ways. However, remember, some Indians supported reforms, which we learn in chapter 7. Now, if we want to understand the era correctly, we must see what common people were thinking. The sources, letters, poetry, reports all show how painful and dominating British rule felt to Indians. Now, sometimes a small protest turns into a mass movement when large number of people feel they have a common enemy. For that, people must communicate, organize, and believe change is possible. This happened in 1857 in northern India. In May 1857, after 100 years of British rule, India saw a huge uprising that threatened the very existence of the East India Company. It started with the sepoys at Meerut, and then ordinary people joined, such as peasants, chiefs, and landlords and rurals. Some historians call it the world's biggest anti-colonial uprising of 19th century. Now, the spark of revolt was fired when Mangal Pandey attacked British officers at Barakpur. He was hanged on 29th March 1857. Later, sepoys at Meerut refused to use new cartridges which were believed to be greased with cow and pig fat. This hurts both Hindu and Muslims' religious sentiments, and 85 Sikhs were jailed for 10 years. On May 10th, 1857, Indian soldiers freed those prisoners and killed British officers, burnt buildings, and declared war against the British. They marched overnight to Delhi and reached the Red Fort and demanded that Bahadur Shah Zafar become their leader. Initially, the old emperor was hesitant, but finally he agreed. He wrote letters to Indian rurals asking them to unite and fight the British. This was a turning point. Indians now saw an alternative, that is a new hope. Next, after Delhi, rebellion spread like wildfire to Kanpur, Lucknow, Jhansi, Bareilly, and many other places. The Nana Sahib became leader at Kanpur. In Lucknow, Birjis Kadir became the Nawab and supported by Begum Hazrat Mahal. In Jhansi, Rani Lakshmi Bai fought bravely with Tanya Top. In Madhya Pradesh, Rani Avanti Bai led 4,000 soldiers. Many leaders appeared, such as Ahmadullah Shah in Awadh and Bakht Khan in Delhi and Kunwar Singh in Bihar. The British were shocked and they were outnumbered and defeated several times. A telegram written in fear said, "Every village is held against us. The zamindars have risen to oppose us." This shows how deeply the revolt had entered common society. The British brought soldiers from England and passed strict laws to punish rebels. Delhi was recaptured in September 1857. Bahadur Shah Zafar and his wife were exiled to Rangoon, where he died in 1862. But the rebellion did not end immediately. British fought for 2 years to crush it. Lucknow fell in March 1858. Rani Lakshmi Bai died in June 1858 and Rani Avanti Bai killed herself instead of surrendering, and Tanya Top continued guerrilla warfare but was executed in 1859. Gradually, rebels were defeated and many were hanged. The British also tried to win back local support by giving rewards and promises of safety. Next, after that, by 1859, British regained control, but the revolt changed everything. They realized they could no longer rule like before, so major changes were introduced, such as rule transferred from East India Company to British Crown through the Act of 1858. The Governor General became the Viceroy, ruling directly for the Queen. No more annexation of Indian state, and rurals were promised security if they accepted the British Queen as supreme. An Indian army reorganized. The fewer Indian soldiers, more Europeans, and recruitment focused on Gurkhas, Sikhs, and Pathans instead of UP and Bihar. The Muslims were targeted and punished as British believed they led the revolt, and British promised to respect Indian religion and customs, and zamindars and landlords were protected so they could support the British. Thus began a new phase in Indian history. Now, the Kurda uprising, a case study. Before, in 1857, there was another major revolt in 1817 in Odisha. This shows that anger against British rule had been growing much earlier. The Kurda was a strong region with many villages. Its ruler, Mukunda Dev II, hoped to regain lost territories with British support, but the British betrayed him and annexed the region. Heavy taxes, corrupt officials, and revenue oppression, new silver currency, salt monopoly, all created deep suffering. The people started deserting the area out of helplessness. The military commander, Uksi Jagabandhu, lost his land and turned into rebel leader. On 29 March 1817, the uprising began. The Pikes, means soldiers, attacked government's buildings and soon occupied Puri. They declared Mukunda Dev II as a ruler. The rebellion spread widely and the British responded with the martial law. Many Pikes were killed, many escaped, and many surrendered. The Jagabandhu continued resistance till 1825. After this revolt, the British were forced to reduce salt price and punish corrupt officials and return some lands. Thus, the Pike Rebellion was first large-scale anti-British armed uprising in Odisha, much before in 1857. So, the revolt of 1857 was not just a mutiny by soldiers. It was a popular rebellion born from years of anger, exploitation, and disrespect. It united kings and peasants, soldiers, and common people. Although it failed, it changed the structure of British rule forever and paved the way for future national movements. And this completes the Unit 5. and I will upload Unit 6 in coming days. Till then, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel.